Thank you for joining me today for Tea and Poetry. The poem I'm going to read today is by Nazim Hikmet. I've read other Nazim Hikmet poems. Just as a reminder, he was a Turkish poet, and he was, sorry, Chase walking around. She's going to get a drink, I think. Anyway, Nazim Hikmet, Turkish, kind of political, spent a lot of time in prison. So this is a poem. This is one of my favorite poems. I believe this was written towards the end of his life, so I'll read it now. It's called Things I Didn't Know I Loved. It's 1962, March 28th. I'm sitting by the window on the Prague-Berlin train. Night is falling. I never knew I liked night descending like a tired bird on a smoky wet plain. I don't like comparing nightfall to a tired bird. I didn't know I loved the earth. Can someone who hasn't worked the earth love it? I've never worked the earth. It must be my only platonic love. And here, I've loved rivers all this time, whether motionless like this, they curl skirting the hills, European hills crowned with chateaus, or whether stretched out flat as far as the eye can see. I know you can't wash in the same river even once. I know the river will bring new lights you'll never see. I know we live slightly longer than a horse, but not nearly as long as a crow. I know this has troubled people before and will trouble those after me. I know all this has been said 1,000 times before and will be said after me. I didn't know I loved the sky, cloudy or clear, the blue vault Andre studied on his back at Borodino. In prison, I translated both volumes of War and Peace into Turkish. I hear voices, not from the blue vault, but from the yard. The guards are beating someone again. I didn't know I loved trees, bare beaches near Moscow, in Para del Kino. They come upon me in winter noble, and modest beaches are Russian the way poplars are Turkish. The poplars of Izmir, losing their leaves, they call me the knife, lover, like a young tree. I blow stately mansions sky high. In the Ilgats woods in 1920, I tied an embroidered linen handkerchief to a pine bough for luck. I never knew I loved roads, even the asphalt kind. Vera's behind the wheel. We're driving from Moscow to the Crimea. Koktebele, formerly Koktepe Ili in Turkish. The two of us, inside a closed box. The world flows past on both sides, distant and mute. I was never so close to anyone in my life. Bandits stopped me on the red road between Bolu and Gerede when I was 18. Apart from my life, I didn't have anything in the wagon they could take, and at 18, our lives are what we value least. I've written this somewhere before. Wading through a dark, muddy street, I am going to the shadow play, Ramazan night, a paper lantern leading the way. Maybe nothing like this ever happened. Maybe I read it somewhere. An 8-year-old boy going to the shadow play, Ramazan night in Istanbul, holding his grandfather's hand. His grandfather has on a fez and is wearing the fur coat with a sable collar over his robe. And there's a lantern in the servant's hand. And I can't contain myself for joy. Flowers come to mind for some reason. Poppies, cactuses, jonquils. In the jonquil garden in Karaköy, Istanbul, I kissed Marika, fresh almonds on her breath. I was 17. My heart on a swing touched the sky. I didn't know I loved flowers. Friends sent me 3 red carnations in prison. I just remembered the stars. I love them too, whether I'm floored watching them from below or whether I'm flying at their side. I have some questions for the cosmonauts. Were the stars much bigger? Did they look like huge jewels on black velvet or apricots on orange? Did you feel proud to get closer to the stars? I saw color photos of the cosmos in Organic magazine. Now don't be upset, comrades, but non-figurative, shall we say, or abstract. Well, some of them looked just like paintings, which is to say, they were terribly figurative and concrete. My heart was in my mouth looking at them. They are our endless desire to grasp things. Seeing them, I could even think of death and not feel at all sad. I never knew I loved the cosmos. Snow flashes in front of my eyes, both heavy, wet, steady snow and the dry, whirling kind. I didn't know I liked snow. I never knew I loved the sun, even when setting cherry red as now. In Istanbul, too, it sometimes sets in postcard colors, but you aren't about to paint it that way. I didn't know I loved the sea, except the sea of Azov, or how much. I didn't know I loved clouds, whether I'm under or up above them, whether they look like giants or shaggy white beasts. Moonlight, the falsest, the most languid, the most petit bourgeois strikes me. I like it. I didn't know I liked rain, whether it falls like a fine net or splatters against the glass. My heart leaves me tangled up in a net or trapped inside a drop and takes off for uncharted countries. I didn't know I loved rain, but why did I suddenly discover all these passions sitting by the window on the Prague-Berlin train? Is it because I lit my 6th cigarette? One alone could kill me. Is it because I'm half dead from thinking about someone back in Moscow? Her hair, straw blonde, eyelashes, blue. The train plunges on through the pitch black night. I never knew I liked the night pitch black. Sparks fly from the engine. I didn't know I loved sparks. I didn't know I loved so many things, and I had to wait until 60 to find it out, sitting by the window on the Prague-Berlin train, watching the world disappear as if on a journey of no return. 19 April 1962. Oof. And many, that, I don't even know what to say about that poem, except it is just exquisite. And I love the journey that he takes, the imagination of this and the kind of the free-flowing associations that he's making, reflecting on what seems to be a reflection of his whole life. I mean, I just think it's remarkable. So, what a treat, and so perfect for today. At least I think so. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be back again tomorrow with more tea and poetry. In the meantime, take care.